Hey everyone, welcome back. I am bringing you 3 subscriber stories. Thank you so much to the people who've submitted these, and I hope you enjoy this. It all happened when I was age 14. I was practicing tennis every day. I went to the courts via the metro and returned home by the metro as well. I live in a part of the country where less crime happens. It was a normal routine. I went at 3 in the evening and returned after doing fitness around 9:30. Usually, I wouldn't get a seat on the metro, but on this particular day of winter, it was quite chilly, and I don't remember much, but the temperature was around 10 degrees, I think. It was 9:15 as I entered the nearest station to my courts. As expected, it was quite late. The metro was scheduled to be coming after another 5 minutes. I began looking around to only see 2 people other than me. I was a bit tired that day, as I did some extra fitness that night. I entered the metro to see no one except me in my compartment. As the train went further, I heard a distant cry for help though. It was not clear, but I made out the words, "Someone, please help." I didn't pay much attention to it though. I plugged in my headphones and just started relaxing. But out of the corner of my eye, I noticed some shuffling around the corner. I did not pay much attention all throughout, but I kept glancing towards the entry to my compartment. I could not see anything wrong on a public transport. But I was wrong. Suddenly, even through my headphones, I heard a loud scream. I was shaking. It was a woman's scream. I plugged out my headphones and looked towards the compartment's entry. 2 women, I noticed not from my country, were running and had trembling footsteps. They both came and sat down next to me. I asked whether everything was all right, and they said yes. I pictured one of them tripping over the door, for they had screamed. I again went to carefree mode. But after a minute or so, both of them asked me to help them. I asked how I could, or what or who caused the scream. Now I looked them in their eyes, and they were both crying. They told me their story. They were 2 foreigners who had booked a trip to my country. They had been there for only 2 days so far. But the day since they arrived, a stalker had been following them from a taxi they took. That day, they had gone to visit the most famous monument of our city. They, however, were late and reached the station at 9 in the evening. They told me that they were sitting in the woman's compartment when suddenly they noticed a man entering it. As you expected, it was the same taxi driver. He came slowly towards them and asked whether he could have a seat in broken English. They were a bit nervous, as no man should have been traveling in the woman's compartment, and also that most of the compartments were empty. He sat beside them and kept staring them down until one of them asked him to move away. He didn't understand though, and he just kept staring. They began to feel a bit uncomfortable. They motioned him to move away, but he didn't. Out of nowhere, he pulled out a knife and a rope. This caught the foreigners off guard, and they were scared. They tried to rush towards the exit, but the man overpowered them. He was trying to get them in his arms, but they carried pepper spray with them and used it with full power towards the stalker. He slashed one of the women's arms, but they ran away, only till they got to my compartment. When I heard this, I was at the same time scared, yet enthusiastic. Suddenly, I looked towards the entry, and there he was. He came lunging towards us. He was in his mid-40s, I guess. Both ladies were holding my arms. The creep said to me in our language to move away, but I didn't know what to do. I then reassured the ladies that they wouldn't get hurt, even though I was only 14 years old. The man grabbed both of their arms and assaulted them. I couldn't see the pain of the women. This is when the idea struck me. I had a kit bag in which I carried 4 rackets made of graphite. The man wasn't looking at me at the moment, and then I felt the urge to do something. I pulled out one of my rackets and shoved it towards his head. He then let go of the women and fell to the ground. He looked at me with that killer anger. I began to hit him 4 more times until he was unconscious. We kept our heavy bag on his face and left at the next station and called the cops. They appeared in no time and caught the man who was trying to leave at the next station. It turned out that one of the women had made a video of him for evidence. It also turned out that the guy was also arrested twice for harassment. I was feeling as if I was a hero. I also noticed I had went way past my destination. Both the women thanked me and kissed me on the cheek. I saw the man being carried away by the police, still staring at us. The police gave my bag and called my parents. They even rewarded me. The time was 11:30. I was looking for my parents when they came and hugged me. The woman told me that they were heading back to the country just the day after. They kept telling my parents that what kind of hero I was. The next day, I saw in the newspaper that the event could have been much worse, as the guy had evil intentions. If it were not for me, I suppose, nobody would have been there to help the innocent women. My parents told me that I was not allowed to come home by the metro again that night. I still vividly remember the evil stare of that creep. One time, I found a Wendigo while up in Canada. I was driving to see the Festival of Lights, and it was one night traveling with my family. Grandma and Grandpa, along with my mom, were driving to see the lights all over. It was beautiful, and the scenery was spectacular. I couldn't believe how much work they had put into it while looking. I see from afar what looked to be a figure past the lights. Looking close, it was like it was a Wendigo. Then, the younger me was like, why is there a dog-like deer in the woods? And I couldn't wrap my head around how disproportionate it was. I didn't tell my mom or grandfather what I saw because they would think I'm crazy or something. Fast forward to when I was older and by myself. It was a little more understanding on things that could go bump in the night by people that told me when they were in the middle of nowhere. I honestly do fear the Wendigos because they are harder to kill, even with special ammo and guns. I have seen a Wendigo when I went to one of my friend's house, way back in the day. Shot guns and had a ball, chopping trees to size and learning target practices with old fridges and other scraps of metal. Or the time we blew up our ex's stuff and had to put out the fire, then joked about our exes, and how they must have been from hell because their stuff almost burnt up the forest. Later on in the months, we decided to go have a late night cookout, and while we went off to go get the food, I was watching the fire and felt an uneasy feeling, and then I heard a sound like something surfacing from the water in the pond near the camp. I didn't think anything of it until I heard something coming aboard land. It looked like it was slumped over and had the skull of a deer, a body of a coyote, and legs like a horse with hooves, but front legs had hooked claws, and the eyes were milky white. While my friend was still at the house, I was stuck watching the fire, and this thing. It began wandering around the campsite, and I was freaking out at this moment. So I picked up my fully loaded 22 LR and looked at it. By then, it had walked out from 60 feet to 30 feet, and then spoke. "Who are you?" In a voice like it was choking on gravel nails and rocks. It was breathing like it was inhaling through pudding or something. I told it to leave and that it's not welcome here, and if it stays, it's giving me a sign to destroy it. The creature scratches out, "I will kill you," in a high-pitched voice of many voices, sounding merged together. And I thought, I have to kill this thing now. So I aimed my 22 and focused my energy into it. Mind you, I thought just a small bit could help destroy this thing, due to being native and a very spiritual person. I was told I was a descendant of an angel and had a spiritual bloodline. I believed that, through times of coming in contact with evil, it normally hates me because my bright aura and energy destroys darkness in my proximity. And that is why the Wendigo asked that, but was enraged. I then shot it 3 times, and then shouted a powerful prayer, focusing my energy, and coming to find out, the energy was too much for the 22. And 3 shots had bent the barrel, and messed up the wooden rails to hold the barrel in place, and cracked the stock. But 3 shots, 1 in the head, 1 in the heart, and 1 in the lungs. Each shot recoiled the 22, and a bright blue flame shot out of the gun instead of a normal orange-red flash. The Wendigo began screaming as it started to disintegrate within my few first prayers. When I fired, I gave the ammo a lot of energy, and the gun couldn't handle the gradual increase. But it blasted holes the size of a .357 Magnum. Being a 22, that was impressive, besides the gun almost blowing up. The Wendigo started disintegrating while screeching, and a vortex of wind hit all around as it plunged back to where it came from. Normal rounds without a prayer can only kill a 1-year-old Wendigo, but an ancient one, you would need a lot more firepower. Thank God I only ran into one that was 2 years old. My friend later gets back to the site and I tell him, and he said I felt this woodlands were off. I felt like I was being watched, and I was very uncomfortable. I told him it's one less thing in these woods to worry about now. We ate our food and later on went home and never talked to me again afterwards. I don't know why. Maybe he was just too scared of the whole thing. The human body is a smorgasbord of fun. It's so easy to dice up into tiny pieces and organize them neatly into my freezer. The whole process is rather simply delightful. Each one a prize unto itself. I, for one, enjoy the whole process. The stalking, the hunt, the kill, and eventually the most savory part of it all. It all started as most of these tendencies do. I found my life was lacking something, and I went into the world to obtain it. It took a long time for me to realize just what it was. I found myself sitting at home when my partner started to ask me something. I wasn't sure what the hell they were going on about, nagging me to perform some remedial task or another. I was in the kitchen getting something ready to eat when I picked up my knife and swung. That would shut their mouth for good. I remember thinking how easy it was to kill them, and how fulfilled I felt by doing so. Even long after they had expired, I continued to cut. However, it stopped being fun after a while, and I realized that the thrill was gone. There was no more danger, and no more chance for them to get away. I quickly realized that I wouldn't get the satisfaction of watching them squirm if they weren't living. But once the killing was over, how else could I savor the moment? After my 10th or so kill, I began to wonder what the final piece of the puzzle could be. Where would I find the missing piece to this freakish delight? That's when I sparked an idea. Delight. Maybe I could savor this moment more completely. So, one afternoon, I gave it a whirl. I was tired of going so far out of my way to dispose of the leftovers that I decided to give it a shot. Why the hell not? So, I gathered some spices and my finest apron, and I made a whole event out of it. I had gotten used to slicing through bone and flesh at this point, so quartering up my kill was easy enough. I remember each bite was more savory than the last. They say you're never quite the same once you've tasted human flesh. I have to agree, but not to the negative. In fact, my feeling was quite the contrary. I found it quite exhilarating. Enough about the past now. Time to speak on the present. Today, I found myself on the news. They talked about all the recent killings in the area. They described the scenes so beautifully, I could reimagine the whole thing. It was a symphony of all the best feelings in the world. A torrent of blood swirling around me as I danced around my friends' lifeless bodies with glee. For what better gesture of a friend than to provide entertainment and a meal? There is no better experience of hospitality. I felt such glee listening to the ones on the news as they gave me a name. Not that it matters. I already have a name. No need for some kind of pseudo-celebrity till tomorrow. Today, it would seem some of my friends don't want to entertain. One wretch decided to spoil my fun. I had them strapped to a table and I was going to strip their flesh slowly, as to savor more of them longer. That inconsiderate. You know what they did? They bit their tongue and bled to death. Ugh. I got so aggravated I don't remember much. I do remember when my anger subsided. I checked my hands and my thumbs were covered in membrane and blood. Looking back, his eyes were completely gouged out. I guess next time, however, I'll just have to bring epinephrine and a tongue clamp. For now, I'll enjoy a nice bit of tongue. They may have damaged it, but it was still perfectly good. Tender and delicious. Something so rich and beautiful, it simply melts in your mouth. The evening has been such a delight. Time for a soothing bath, calming music, and a little me time. Today has been exciting in numerous ways. Today I saw them. This one seems special. I was on my way to the farmer's market, only the freshest to go with my refined tastes. They strode into my view, and I couldn't help but catch a glimpse. They were tall, well built, and had so many promising features. I had to clench my jaw shut as to stop myself from drooling. I began to follow them. I walked behind them mostly, expertly as I observed them. They were just out of my grasp, and it only made me long for them more. I watched them from across the road through a large bay window. I simply stood in line at a local food truck and pretended to be a patron. I saw them standing there looking so peaceful, and most importantly, unspoiled. For now. I've decided I will not make another kill until I've had this one. The pleasures that will be had. It's been several weeks now. I'm getting the shakes. I've lost sight of my treasure. They eluded me. Eluded my invitation. I can't handle this. This garbage. Utter filth. How can I eat this anymore? It's getting worse. The cravings. If I don't eat, I feel incomplete and my words even become incoherent. Something needs to satiate me. Need drugs. Need escape. The itch is consuming me, driving into my skull. Nails on a chalkboard. Yet, this torment I'm subjecting to myself. Although police can't seem to get to me, I feel eyes on me. I can't help it anymore. Like being addicted to a drug, I was going through a withdrawal. I had tried anything I could think of to cure my problems. I looked high and low for my friend, but I saw nothing. I'm begging to question my sanity and mental health. My coordination is starting to feel off. The only drug left is the kill. I have to go. Tonight. Where are you? I did it. Fast and quick. A homeless person on the side of the road. All I had to do was lure them into the alley with promises of a fun time, and they came sprinting. I couldn't wait. I couldn't control myself. I shoved my diver's knife deep into their abdomen and dragged it up to their chest. The scream that came breathed new life into my soul. It was a symphony of soothing sounds that revitalized me. The rain of blood that flowed onto the pavement sounded like a serene, nurturing rainstorm on a lazy Sunday afternoon. It was marvelous. I decided I couldn't stay. However, as I started to hear footsteps converging on me, I took half a second to take in the scene one last time before regretfully leaving. I feel almost whole again. However, I see my real prize in my mind whenever I sleep, and they haunt me ever so. My dreams of killing and shedding flesh soothe me for a while, but then comes the image of me at the farmer's market again. I needed to move away. This person was clearly just a simple trick of my mind, isn't it? Moving on was the best thing I could have done. I mangled a few college attendees lurking at a park after dark. It was easy enough to pose as one. Start about 3 seconds of small talk before managing to convince 2 of them to come over for some entertainment. The younger ones, like myself, are so much more tender, especially college age, where they have hardly used or worked a vast amount of their muscles. My utensils keep shaking when I try to take even a single bite. And now, I see the TV. I see them again. There. I know. I see I have to go. Another loss. I don't understand. I can't comprehend anything. Both times I've seen them, I get distracted. My body feels too weak to move. Tremors getting the better of me. Can't seem to focus, though. I'm hearing voices. Outside my door. In my head. Help. I'm not sure when the fun stopped. Police are finally catching up to me as well. After I took those kids, if killing is the only option I have, then I have but one last course of action to go. I'm going to call them in. Today, I'm gonna do it. I can no longer call this fun while also being paranoid. The cravings are making me sweat. My mind is twisting and contorting. When the police come, they will have quite a show. Wait, I see something outside my window. It was them again. I had to close my window. I stumbled several times on the way back to my couch. This is the end. I've already called the cops and they'll be here soon. I think I'll wait for them with a nice glass of wine and a piece of forbidden fruit. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I appreciate it a lot. And also, big thanks to my patrons, and if you want to support me, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. And if you want to hear more scary stories in the future, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Thank you.